Okay, members, in front of us today, we have House File 4177 from Chair Eklund, our committee's omnibus, labor and industry, finance, and policy bill. Welcome, Chair Eklund. Please move your bill and your DE1A220402 amendment and explain the bill and your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move the DE1 A22-0402. And this bill should be referred to Ways and Means. And Mr. Chair, before we start, I think I'll have nonpartisan staff walk through the bill first. So I believe we have Ms. Roberts to do the spreadsheet and Ms. James to do the bill itself, the DE.
Welcome to the committee, Ms. Roberts. Members, we will now hear from the nonpartisan staff. Ms. Roberts, go ahead with your testimony.
Mr. Chair and members, I'm Helen Roberts from the House Fiscal Staff. Can you see the screen that I just shared?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to walk through the spreadsheet quickly. The first agency that has a change item is the Bureau of Mediation Services, and you can see on line 6, there's $400,000 in additional funding for the Public Employee Relations Board, also known as the PERB, and this is from House File 3395, Representative Nelson's bill. The next agency, starting on line 9, is the Department of Labor and Industry. The first group of change items are all the general fund change items. On line 10, you'll see $150,000 for the combative sports, health, and safety improvements. On line 11, $196,000 for expanding and strengthening the Fair Labor Standards Act for agriculture and food processing workers. And this is from House File 4314, Representative Hansen's bill. On line 12, there is $747,000 for the youth skills training, grants, and administration. Then on line 13, $1 million for the logger safety grant program. And finally, on line 14, this is a general fund transfer for to the construction codes fund related to the building and trade license fee holiday of $3.357 million in fiscal year 23, and then an additional $4.45 million in fiscal year 24. And this is from House File 4647, Representative Berg's bill. So the total general fund change on line 15 is $5.45 million. Then moving down to line 17, the next group of items are the non-general fund changes. First on line 17, $145,000 from the construction code fund for the commercial energy code improvements. On line 18, $160,000 for the safe housing for the elderly and vulnerable adults provisions, again from the construction code fund. On line 19, you'll see the combative sports health and safety improvements. This is from the statutory special revenue fund appropriation, and that's $14,000. On line 20, the next two items are from the workforce development fund. So you'll see $1.375 million, and that's for increasing equity in apprenticeship. Then also on line 21, prevailing wage education and compliance, $1.758 million in fiscal year 23. And so the total non-general fund change items are $3.452 million. Moving down to line 24, here you'll see the total direct appropriations, the general fund and workforce development fund of $8.583 million. And that is the number that you'll actually see in the bill language. The final agency under this jurisdiction is the Workers' Compensation Court of Appeals. They have two change items from the Workers' Compensation Fund. The first is an operating adjustment of $200,000 per year, and then a one-time funding request of $100,000 for rulemaking related to campus. And so the total change for the Workers' Compensation Court of Appeals on line 29 is $300,000. The last page of the spreadsheet just shows the total expenditures by fund. You'll see on line 32, the total general fund expenditure change is 5.85 million. On line 37, the total for all funds is 9.6 million. And then there are some revenue changes. On line 40, you'll see the general fund revenue change of $16,000 related to the prevailing wage education and compliance provisions. And the total revenue changes for all funds on line 45 is $311,000. And then finally, at the last line of the spreadsheet, you'll see the net general fund impact, the combination of expenditures and revenues of 5.834 million. And I will stop sharing unless people have questions on the spreadsheet.
Are there any questions for Ms. Roberts regarding the spreadsheet? Thank you. Members, now we're going to hear from our nonpartisan House research staff who will present the policy aspects of the DE1 amendment for House File 4177. Welcome, Ms. James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I am Marta James from House Research, and I will go over the policy sections now. So for the author's amendment, and just so everyone knows, I am working off of the page and lines from the A22-0402. So starting with Article 1 on page 1, line 3, again, that is the appropriations that Helen just covered, and you can see her fiscal spreadsheet for more details on that. Article 2 starts on page 4, line 3. That is the labor and industry policy and technical provisions. There's several provisions in this, so I will just cover them very briefly for you. Sections 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. 8 and 9, all create the division of apprenticeship, and that will be separate from the division of labor standards. So these sections remove the obsolete language for that. Section 3 relates to Section 11, which Section 11 prohibits restrictive franchise agreements, and then also requires amendment of current restrictive agreements. So Section 3 allows the commissioner to issue compliance orders for that section. Moving then to Section 7, that's on page 6, line 9. That modifies the LEAP grants to focus on targeted groups. Section 10 on page 7, line 9, prohibits non-competes in employment contracts unless the exception applies. Then Section 12 on page 10, starting at line 1, that removes the contractor licensing fees for a 2-year period, what's been referred to as the fee holiday. Section 13 on page 11, line 9, designates assisted living facilities as state licensed facilities under the state building code. And I should mention, a lot of these provisions do come from other House files, and I'm happy to point those out if anyone has questions on that. Then moving back to Section 14, this directs the DLI Commissioner to adopt Model Commercial Energy Code. Section 15 modifies window cleaning safety building code requirements, and that's for new buildings and alterations. That's an example of a bill that came from House File 165, a Representative Detmer bill that was modified in committee. Section 16 reduces the valuation and fee schedule for building permit fees for the specified period. Section 17 then on page 16, line 3, exempts load control equipment owned and maintained by a utility company from the inspection requirements if the certain requirements in that language are met. Again, that's an example of one that came from House File 215 as amended in committee. And that was a Representative List-Lagarde bill. Finally, Section 18 clarifies the Workers' Compensation Advisory Council bill effective dates. So that was Article 2, very briefly. Then turning to Article 3, which starts on page 17 and goes to page 19. This is the Osha penalty conformance. And so these sections increase the Osha penalties to conform to federal law. That was a provision from House File 4177. Again, just a very high level summary of these provisions for you. Article 4 on page 19 contains the fair labor standards for agricultural and food processing workers. This language was from House File 4314, which was Representative Hansen bill. This language contains many additions and modifications to fair labor standards for agricultural and food processing workers. And some of the provisions impacted are the migrant labor law, the packing house workers bill of rights, as well as the recruitment and food processing. Article 5 is the combative sports article that starts on page 26, line 24, and those sections make a variety of technical changes to the combative sports licensing system. Article 6 covers the Public Employment Relations Board. This starts on page 37 and contains two provisions, or 4 sections and 2 main provisions, modifying the effective date for the PERB, as well as how data used by the PERB is treated. And that language came from House File 3395, the first engrossment, a Representative Nelson bill. Finally, Article 7 on page 39, starting at line 1, provides for refinery safety requirements, including, among other things, that there is experience with a registered apprenticeship program in the applicable trade for a certain percentage of refinery workers. That language is from House File 984, the second engrossment with an amendment, and that was Representative Liz Lagarde bill. And those are the article policy provisions for the omnibus, and I'm also happy to answer any questions.